Ladies all around the world, listen up. We're looking for you. The time has come to be unstoppable together. The danger of executive women is worrying we're not enough, obsessed with perfection and failing to perform. You're in the right place. It's now time to be unstoppable together with Connie Fife. She was the director of the United States Chamber of Commerce and CEO of Girl Scouts USA. Sit down, squat down, or lie down. It's time for Up or Out, all business with Connie Fife, your unstoppable diva and chair of the Fife Group, helping women in leadership achieve excellence and be unstoppable together.
Hi, this is Connie Fife, your unstoppable diva, and you're listening to Up or Out with Connie. And you can hear us on iTunes, iHeartRadio, the C-Suite Radio, and 1,900 analog networks in 145 countries. Now, I want you to be sure you subscribe with us on iTunes because you don't want to miss any of the good stuff. And if you're looking for expert advice on how to move up or perhaps move out and become an entrepreneurial leader, you want to connect with us on our Facebook group, Up or Out, because we're always adding new information, new skills, new tools to help you move up and be heard in the boardroom. Or again, some people say, I am tired of the 9 to 5 and I want to get out. We got it all right here for you. So let me just share my quote really quick for today. And it is my favorite quote, which is, your dreams are your reality waiting for you to get there. Now, I spent the last 10 days on the road, and I'm going to tell you, as tiring as it sounds, because I spent all day yesterday on the couch just trying to recuperate, but it was just phenomenal from the people that I met that are in the C-suite to trying to set that stage and develop that strategy and those skills and how they're going to get out. It's all about high performance. It's all about leadership. And that's what our show is about right here. So we're going to take a really quick sponsor break and we'll be right back with today's unstoppable guest. Hi, this is Connie Fife, your unstoppable diva, your host of Up or Out with Connie. I am thrilled to be a headline show on C-Suite Network, where you can grow your brand, grow your tribe, and be unstoppable. We are the hottest podcast for entrepreneurs, C-level executives, and market leaders. And you can hear me each week right here on the C-Suite Network. Also on Conscious Business Network, iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, SiriusXM, and over 900 stations around the globe. Be sure to follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. Thanks for listening. Be bold, be connected, and be unstoppable. We're back, and you're listening to Up or Out with Connie. No, I want you to turn up the volume because our guest today is phenomenal. Truly an unstoppable guest and someone that you're going to want to find out more about. He's a teacher, a mentor, a strategist, an innovator, an author. All are terms that you will use to identify this guy. He is a chief strategy officer for Santy, and his name is Adam Pierno. He's highly caffeinated. He's got his coffee going right now. He warned me on that. And he has, over the years, introduced new tools that help you uncover real insights on consumer habits, customer habits, which he has used on his own. I mean, so he walks the talk. He uses these tools for his company. Now, prior to joining Santy, he leveraged his knowledge of consumer behavior to produce very informed and effective campaigns for some really high national brands like Delta Airlines. All right, who works with an airline? Because they're crazy. They're insane. Oh my gosh. It is definitely a challenge. I know that from the past 2 weeks that I had. Dial Corporation, Domino's, Dunkin' Brands, and Mercedes-Benz, and also Verizon. His first book, Think It, recently published through Amazon. He delves right into the foundational aspects of that marketing strategy. And he was inspired to pen this book to fill that void in strategy training curriculum. And I'm going to tell you, Adam, I mean, I've seen this. I see those voids, and this this book that you put together, I mean, it's more than a guidebook. I mean, somebody could call it their Bible to help them fill in those gaps that so much of it is truly missing. So I want to officially introduce to our show Adam Pierno. So Adam, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Connie. It's really great to be here. It is weird to have myself introduced that way, so I'm still getting used to hearing that read out loud. Thank you very much for the kind words.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I mean, you're so inspirational, and you've done so much now. And I know your wife and kids, I mean, they're claiming that you generate your best ideas while you're running. So you're a runner.
I am. Yeah, I run. I'm currently training for a half marathon, and I just ran with my daughter her first 5K. So that was a real special moment for both of us. We ran that together.
Cool. My whole family are runners. My son's a professional marathon runner, and my sister has now become a runner too. And I'm proud of her because she'll probably shoot me for saying this, but she was always that overweight kid. And she wasn't into activities like that. But a couple of years ago, she said, I'm going to do this. And now she is slim, she's trim, and she just ran the Philadelphia half marathon recently.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it has nothing to do with weight, really. It's more about will. It's more about will to finish and will to run.
Right, that's exactly it. Now, myself, I can't say I'm a great runner because when I'm running, I'm thinking, I could be home doing something else. And
yeah, well, that's why I try to figure out how to make it productive. So either I'm solving problems or I'm listening to podcasts like yours, and trying to learn and trying to make those hours productive time.
Right, I'm a spinner, and
same deal.
So same deal. I'll just zone out. I think if I do that when I'm running, I'll trip and probably fall. But I zone out on the bike, and I just say, hey. And my husband will say, so what great deal did you solve today?
I try to listen to news or listen to podcasts that I can learn something with, and then I feel a little bit less selfish about the 90 minutes that I take to run.
Now, you talk about strategy and how strategy has become so highbrow and academic.
Yeah, it's a load of hooey.
I want to get your take on that.
Yeah, thank you. So if you're in marketing and you're looking at strategy, and I know that's tangential to some of the things you've done, Connie, you're looking at the way people come in and present strategy specifically, or the way they talk about it. If you see a TED Talk or you see somebody at a conference, and it's full of these 5-syllable words, it's full of all these academic concepts, and it sounds like this big important thing, and it's all BS. I mean, it's all we can get through those same concepts without using those huge words and without alienating people. And in my business, in marketing, and Santy, by the way, we're an ad agency based in Scottsdale, Arizona, with an office in California. So there's about 50 of us. We're in the sales business. So whatever part of the advertising agency you're in, you're trying to sell something. And if you're presenting strategy and you're following that trope and you're making it sound so complicated and so complex, you're doing yourself a disservice, because definitely the person on the other side of that table is not understanding what the hell you're talking about. You're not making it easier to buy. You're not making it easier for them to get on board and get excited about what you're saying. And a lot of times the strategy team is the team that has the business solution. We're at that intersection of creativity and business, but we're talking over people's heads, trying to sound so authoritative and smart that we punish everybody who follows us in the presentation, where they're like, and just like, to solve this problem, here's the great idea. And you have a client, a marketer, a small business owner who's saying, but I don't even understand what you're talking about, and so you're not helping anybody. No,
and I think it goes back to, the keep it simple motto, where when you're doing something, you're creating something, and my background is marketing as well, but you have to keep it simple. And you'll laugh, because I had an aunt. I'm from, my family, Appalachian Mountain, Louisville, Kentucky. And so a lot of them weren't very well educated. And my aunt, who I adored, and she would say to me, so what do you do? And I go into these real big words, what I do. And she's like staring at me, and she's like, okay, now you can tell me what you do so I understand it.
Right. Yeah, and we're talking over people's heads. And so how can they relate to us, or how can they relate to the ideas that we're bringing if we're using these dumb words? And there's reasons why we do that. We're doing that, one, we want to sound smart. So
Right.
we overdo that.
Right.
I've been guilty of that myself.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, though, a lot of the concepts come from academia or from science. So if you think about behavioral economics, that
Right.
comes from psychology and economics. So we're borrowing words and we're trying to use those exact same words without processing them ourselves and saying,
Mhm.
but I can boil this down even simpler, which is what I tried to do in the book, is take some of the biggest concepts and repackage them for people. I think in the first chapter, I own it. None of those ideas are original ideas in that book. It is taking tools that I use every day with my teams and my
Right.
clients, and I'm putting it together. Think of it as a textbook that you can come back to and dog-ear pages or circle things when you need it, when you're stuck in a project.
Mm-hmm. Well, what about that? And again, change is the new normal. And we need to change continuously. If we're standing still, we're going to be completely run over. And,
Yeah, definitely.
and I've heard you say if you're standing still, you're actually going backwards.
Yeah, or even worse, right? I mean, you're going down the steps on your butt.
Right.
If you're a new brand, we've seen this time and time again. So there's a company called Brandless that launched CPG products, consumer packaged goods products, like they make soaps and they make some food products, and they have just avoided supermarkets, for example. They've just distributed online and a lot through, I think through Amazon, but through their website specifically, direct to consumer.
Okay.
And they have turned, that used to be a total disadvantage. So the General Mills of the world, the Kraft of the world, own the distribution at the supermarket, and no new brands could get in. If you're a snack food and you want to sell your potato chip, Frito-Lay is going to say, nope. Brandless just said, well, let's forget that. Let's just ignore that as an idea. How else can we sell? And they're building this huge company through this just unique distribution that to Frito-Lay would have seemed like a waste of time, because it would probably account for Frito-Lay for, some tiny portion of revenue, some tiny portion of orders. But now they're seeing it, our brand is starting to get eroded because people are wondering, why can't I get it the same way I get Brandless?
Right. And that's part of the disruption.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
I would say everywhere you look, I mean, the disruption is happening, and on how you're delivering your products to the consumer, how you're reaching the consumer. I mean, look at Amazon. I mean, they've saturated the market now. I mean, with home delivery. Oh, well, you can have your home delivery within 2 hours.
Right.
So it's okay. Well, who's going to run down the store for your toilet paper at Target when you could just have them deliver it to your house?
Absolutely. Amazon is one company that gets the idea of disrupting itself. They're not afraid to start a new division that puts another division out of business if they have to, if they see a market opportunity to do it. And most companies are so focused on what they've built and just looking at the castle they've built that they can't cross the moat and build something new.
From your information, and again, I'm talking about companies need to be flatter. They need to be more nimble. They need to be flatter. And I was laughing when I read your information about hierarchy is the enemy of speed and adaptability.
Totally. I mean, if I have to go ask permission of somebody who has to go get permission of somebody else, and I've heard you speak about this same thing, where if the leadership isn't down in the trench or down side by side, having those conversations and saying, that's a good idea, run with it.
Yes.
You're looking at a month of meetings and PowerPoints and just time killer while your competition, while Brandless is building a whole distribution system under your nose.
They're already on to their next project, their next whatever, while these companies are still waiting to make a decision.
And they're just running. And if they break things, they're breaking them and they'll fix them as they go. Meanwhile, Kellogg's takes 2 years to get to that same conclusion. And then they say, well, I'm not sure. Maybe we'll just buy Brandless. They're not going to, that'll probably be what happens. Somebody will just.
And I'm going to throw out 2 nonprofit organizations because I spent so many years in them. They are the worst.
They're their own worst enemy.
Worst when it comes to the hierarchy, because now you have the team that go through to the director or the CEO. The CEO has to go to the board. The board has, and I mean, it's months before a decision is made. And that's if a decision is made, because nobody wants to be the fall guy. Nobody wants to put themselves out there and say, this is what we're doing. And
there's two sides. One is the fall guy side. And I see that a lot in corporate America on the for-profits. They don't want to get fired. They don't want to get in trouble. They don't want to hurt stock value. But on the other side, and that was huge at Verizon, but on the other side is at nonprofits, I think also part of the problem is they really want to be good stewards of the
Yes.
money that they've raised, but to a fault where they're just paralyzed because they through the just overthinking and over concern and the hierarchy and making sure everybody's on board.
Right.
If everybody's on board, it's probably not a good idea. It's probably not a risky, interesting idea that's going to make a change.
Right. And it's okay to have those conversations. And that's why it's really important to have a very diverse board of directors in a public or private organization. I've worked with nonprofits over the years as a consultant. And for me, and I know a lot of people really enjoy working with those organizations, but for me, I had to walk away because, they're don't even think about disrupting, the shopping cart.
Right. That's right.
This is how we've done it, and we're not going to change. And yes, they're trying to be good stewards, but they also don't realize you have to run this like a business.
Absolutely. You have to be as aggressive or more.
Yes. And that's why I was successful at the Girl Scouts and some organizations that I've worked with. But there's some organizations I could not get them to budge. Like they were stuck in the quicksand. And I was like, okay, I'm out. So I just had to say, I can't go there anymore. But it's so true, whether you're a public or private organization, you need to be nimble, you need to be flatter, and you need to be able to make those decisions quicker, or else, like I said, you're moving backwards.
Yep, I totally agree.
So did you know what you wanted to do from the start?
No, are you kidding me? No, I came up, I was a creative. So I was an art director. So I actually... for your listeners who don't know what that is, and it's kind of a little bit inside baseball, that means designing, coming up with the ideas behind television commercials and print ads. And then I eventually rose to the rank of creative director, which I did for a while at a couple different places, including in-house at Verizon. And I think I realized I peaked, I was a creative director here at Santy, and then I left to pursue something in Atlanta. And by the time I was done moving around the country doing that job, I realized, I'm not really great at the design part of this, but I'm really strong and really interested in the strategy side of it, about understanding the psychology of the buyer and how to make a match between the brand and the consumer.
Okay.
And so luckily, I was really lucky that Dan Santy, who's the CEO and founder of Santy, called and said, hey, I want you to come back to Phoenix, but I already have a creative director. And I said, oh, baby, this is a match made in heaven. I said, I'm going to write a job description and you write a job description of what you need.
Right.
And let's compare notes. And it was like an 85% match of strategy directing. And it's been a great ride for the past 4 years.
Well, you've been doing awesome.
Thank you so much.
So we all have those failures and fears in baseball. The analogy is winners fail 7 out of 10 times before we can truly find our success. So what is it that, not a failure, but what was it that caused you to pivot? And like you were just talking about, to say, okay, this is where I really want to go. This is my success path. Yeah,
that's so the company that I went to work for initially in Atlanta, they brought me out there to relaunch an Atlanta office. They were based up in New York. And I went out there as creative director, and a year in, they folded that office. Oh. So I kind of realized at that point I was able to I never was out of work. So I was laid off, but they kept me on. And so I was doing more strategy work. And so the failure was, as the creative director and one of the leaders of that office, I had not driven the growth that they needed me to drive. And I realized that was really when the light bulb went on. I said, I don't think I'm really a great creative director. I think I would be a good creative director when in a bigger place, when there's a lot of people.
Okay.
But in a smaller place, under 50 people, I don't think I had the vision for it that leads that kind of work. And that was my wake-up call to say, well, let's reassess. Let's, talking to my wife and saying, what are the things I really love about my job or my career, and where can I improve? And so thinking that through is how I got to the idea of doing strategy.
Okay. That's pretty cool. And I mean, and again, with what you do in your background, you could have gone in so many different directions. So if knowing what you know now, what words of advice do you have to others that are pursuing their path to success?
Don't be, there's some people who say, some people say, you have to hang on longer and get to your dream. And I think that's true. I would say, don't be so looking at one single path that you can't see an offshoot, an exit that may be a bit different version of your dream than you expected. Because when we're picturing what it's like, it's rarely like that by the time we get there. If things are changing as fast as we can, being a creative director was great, but I realized, but if I just make this slight left turn, I'm doing this other thing that I'm really passionate about.
Right. Well, that's pretty much all we have for today. And I want to thank you for being here. But
thanks so much.
How can our listeners find out more about you?
Oh, well, you can always go to Santy.com, and that's the agency website. You can find me at Twitter, which I am at addictively and way too much, according to my wife and most of the people that work with me. I'm at Pierno, Pierno. And if you go to either of those places or look for Underthink It on Amazon.com, the hardcover will be coming soon, but the soft cover and the Kindle edition are already up.
Oh, so Underthink It. Okay, awesome. Well, that's all we got for today. And I want to thank Adam for being here on Up or Out with Connie. Again, you could find Adam at Santy.com and also go on to Amazon and look for his book, Underthink It. Phenomenal book, and it's really going to fill in those gaps of what you need for your marketing and all of those strategies to get to your customer, to get to the right customer.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Connie. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
And be sure to subscribe with us on iTunes because you don't want to miss any of the good stuff. And our community is growing. It's growing like crazy, like rapid speed, like we just talked about. So we're not laying flat. We're not just sitting here waiting for you to reach out to us. We are just erupting in how we're doing our show as well. And so stay tuned with us because you're going to want to know more about that. And also, if you want to connect with us, go to iTunes, send me a screenshot with an email, and voila, that's all you have to do. It's quick and easy. And I'm going to send you a calendar link, and you're going to get a 30-minute mentor session with me. That's it. Just go do a screenshot of Up or Out on iTunes, and you're going to get some time with me. We're going to get to hang out. We'll talk about marketing. We'll talk about how you can grow your business, high performance, and leadership. That's what we're all about. And if there's a topic that you want to hear or a guest to recommend, send a message to teamfife@fifegroup.com. It's been great being here with you today. And always ask yourself if you could do something different to get a different result. What would that be? You're listening to Connie at Up or Out with Connie. Until next time, be bold, be connected, and be unstoppable together.